So there's been another achievement when it comes to Cardano. What do I mean by that? It's not the fact that ADA is down over 4% in the past 24 hours. It's not about that. I'll talk about that later though and why that doesn't necessarily concern me. But it's actually about how the Cardano Foundation recently made a post saying how they've been featured in the Global Blockchain Business Council's latest real-world blockchain use cases handbook. This is pretty impressive because this does kind of highlight one of Cardano's use cases, which I think kind of showcases that, you know what, it's not necessarily such a useless project, but, I'll get into that in today's video, even though the price charts are not doing the best. But this is not really about that anyways, even though I'll talk about it later. But I first want to clarify, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, just my mindset perspective and just my review, I guess, when it comes to this. Now, why does this matter? Well, it's because Cardano was listed as use case number 56. Now it says something called Reeve uses Cardano to prove official reports are genuine and haven't been changed, basically, when it comes to the financial side of things. And actually, Cardano even said that they have tested it on their own books and it was signed off by Grant Thornton, which is so massive. I mean, if someone's ever heard about that, that's so massive, right? So if we take a look at how even something of the caliber of Grant Thornton signing off on Cardano, testing it on their own books, and then seeing how Cardano was recently featured in that real-world blockchain use cases handbook, I think it kind of highlights just the capabilities of Cardano. And need I remind people as well, they recently made a post saying 100% uptime. I'm not joking. I'll show it on the screen. Now, what does that even mean? It means that in addition to, again, Cardano recently being featured in that handbook or whatever, it also showcases that Cardano has had many years of basically 100% uptime. In which case, we take a look at this right here, right? We'll see that, for instance, allegedly, the mainnet has run without interruption since launch in September of 2017. So that's approaching a decade at this point in terms of Cardano having a 100% uptime, allegedly, which not only showcases its reliability, but it showcases that despite all the nonsense that's gone on ever since 2017 up until right now when it comes to, the bear markets and stuff like that, when it comes to this space, despite all that, something has remained consistent, right? There's been one constant when it comes to that, and that's the fact that Cardano as a blockchain has maintained 100% uptime. So let's just imagine that. So when people are saying, wow, ADA, it's below 16 cents yet again, this is really bad and all this, I'm totally aware of that. But at the same time, the fundamentals are not becoming worse. It's just only the price charts. I get it. It's not really cool or interesting as of right now to talk about the fundamentals or whatever goes on when it comes to Cardano, especially because ADA is well below 20 cents. I'm totally aware of that. But I think all this type of stuff could maybe hypothetically matter later on. Let me just give a real life example when it comes to this. It's like, for instance, right? Back then, me and my friends, we would play a lot of Call of Duty. It was awesome at that time. If I kind of put a hypothetical and let's say I went back in time, which I can't, but I'm just saying, imagine if I did that. Imagine if back then I was like, hey, ever heard about the S&P 500? Ever heard about gold? Ever heard about Bitcoin? Everyone who's playing Call of Duty with me, they'd be like, what are you talking about? They'd be like, dude, that's so boring. Let us play Call of Duty. They'd be like that, right? Now, let's think about this. We fast forward to right now. What matters more? Me playing Call of Duty back then? Or let's say S&P 500, gold and all this, Bitcoin hypothetically. You know what I mean? So again, things may not matter at the time, in hindsight, but it could matter later if, let's say, things actually did something. Case in point, yes, I get it, Bitcoin's down, but remember last year it reached an all-time high? Take a look at the S&P 500. It reached an all-time high not that long ago. Also gold, I get it, it's kind of down compared to its all-time high, but that also recently reached an all-time high. What has not reached an all-time high? My PlayStation 3, which I don't even know where it is anymore. My Call of Duty game, which I don't even know where it is anymore. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Things may not matter at the time, but they could sometimes hypothetically matter later on. Now, this is a completely different example. I'm totally aware of that. But when I take a look at Cardano, seeing the achievements they're making and all this, the upgrades and whatnot, take a look at the recent Van Rossum hard fork that happened when it comes to Cardano, which brought tremendous security, I guess, enhancements when it comes to Cardano. When I take a look at all that, it may not matter currently, but if the market were to recover, that's sometimes things that people do care about. It's like, for instance, again, right back then, I cared a lot about Call of Duty. A lot of my friends did. Now, we don't play that anymore. You know what? It's just what it is, right? So yeah, when it comes to Cardano and all this, I get it. It may seem kind of boring that it's kind of doing nothing in terms of the price charts when it comes to ADA, its native token. But we have to think about the actual strides that's happening behind the scenes, right? I mean, I guess I mentioned this a lot of times, but at the same time, I have to mention it because it does involve an aspect of AI when it comes to Cardano's recent partnership with the Brazilian Olympic Committee. Again, that has an aspect of AI. So when it comes to Cardano, it's actually not doing like terrible, fundamentally speaking. It's just the price charts are not looking good, but really, okay, let me just use a different example, right? Take a look at Bitcoin, for instance. Bitcoin's down. It's like around 64 grand or whatever as of right now. But I'm saying the maximum supply is still 21 million, right? So if we take a look at it, fundamentally speaking, when compared to its all-time high, nothing really bad happened to it. It's just that it's down because a lot of people are leaving this market. A lot of people just don't really care about it as of right now. So again, naturally, it's down. But fundamentally, it didn't really change. You know, what happened to it that was so fundamentally bad? I can't think of anything as of right now. I mean, the maximum supply is still 21 million. So when it comes to Cardano, as a layer one blockchain, it's still hypothetically fundamentally sound. It's just the price charts are not looking good. The price charts are not an accurate representation as to how well it's doing fundamentally speaking, in my perspective, in some cases, right? So when I take a look at Cardano, I just don't see what's so bad. If anything, it's improved. You know, I think that in actually 2026, the fundamentals are the best it's ever been when it comes to Cardano. The reason why I say that is because the Van Rossum hard fork recently happened. That's the thing. So in terms of Cardano, fundamentally, it's just way better than all the years previous, in my opinion. Okay, sure, ADA isn't at around $3, which is its all-time high approximately. It's not at that point anymore, but in terms of the fundamentals, it's improved by quite a lot. And again, I get it, things are down as of right now. But one thing I've realized is that when it comes to this space, I've never seen a permanent bear market. You know, I've never seen a permanent rally, but I've also never seen a permanent bear market either. You know, things, okay, they go up, they also go down, but sometimes they don't go down forever either. That's the thing. Do I know at the bottom? Absolutely not. Do I know when things could recover? No. But one thing I am doing is I'm waiting. That's the thing, because if I take a look at ADA as of right now, it's approximately 7 times away from $1. It reached $1 basically last year very casually. You know, it wasn't even really such a big deal. Everyone thought it was kind of bad actually when it comes to ADA, at least in some cases. So it wasn't really such a massive thing when it comes to ADA, considering its all-time highs at around $3. So again, even ADA just going back to $1 around 7 times, right, in terms of the journey, but $1 wasn't even that good anyways. So it showcases that $1 isn't even this high bar when it comes to Cardano. Like, it's not such a massive undertaking we've never seen before. That's just kind of my mindset. But also on the flip side, when I take a look at, for instance, you know, again, the recent things that I've seen go on when it comes to Cardano, I just can't really pinpoint something that's so bad that happened to it. I just don't know. So if anything, I'm still seeing Cardano do its thing. Okay, it's not doing the best, but you know what? It's still doing its thing. I'm still waiting. I'm still, you know, I guess just looking at what's going on, and that's kind of it. But I'm still documenting my journey along the way. So of course, I'll keep everyone posted and updated as to what goes on when it comes to Cardano and my journey, basically, which is just still waiting at this point. But at the same time, when it comes to Cardano, again, seeing the recent post they made, just to kind of give a quick recap, right? Again, the post they made recently about 100% uptime in terms of the Cardano Foundation making that post, and then also on top of that, seeing how they were recently featured in this handbook. Thought it was pretty cool, and it kind of highlights Cardano's use case. Not only, you know, has Cardano showcased its capabilities in the case of AI lately, and also real world assets to a certain extent, but also on the flip side, in terms of the global trade and finance space, as showcased how, you know, again, in that handbook, Cardano was highlighted as use case number 56 and how it was actually making an impact, right? For the global trade and finance space, arguably speaking. But I thought it was pretty impressive nonetheless, despite ADA being down. But you know what? I'm still holding anyways. So, you know, this is all background noise to me anyways. You know, eventually couple years later, will I care about a 5% dip or a 2% dip? Nah, I don't think I'll care about that in the future. But yeah, so I'm just still waiting.